If you don't mind, Tinyiko, can you please just, tell us your full name and just briefly tell us your history in the union space? Who you've been working for throughout, who you're working for now in terms of the union. Yeah, and we'll start from there.
Okay, thanks, buddy. First, for a person to be in a union, you obviously have to be employed. Currently, I'm employed by SAA Technical.
Mm-hmm.
And since day one, when I got employed, how many years? 1998.
Yeah.
When I started working there, I started with the union SATAWU, and I became a shop steward in 2012. Now, ever since then, I then participated in the union activities, being a leader in the workplace. I then climbed up the ranks where I became an office bearer of the local, the structures within the union. There's the local structure, there's
regional,
the provincial structure, there's the national structure. So within my local, which is around Kempton Park, I then became the office bearer, the chairperson of the aviation sector.
Okay.
With the union having different sectors. SATAWU is the transport union.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it organizes in different sectors. There's aviation, there's road freight, there's also cleaning, aviation industry. I then became the chairperson of the aviation sector within the locals. And sometime last year in May, we then had our provincial congress, where we had to elect the leadership, which is of course, the top four, which is the chairperson, deputy chairperson, the secretary, and the treasurer. And then was elected as the deputy chairperson of the province of Gauteng. In the unionism. So basically, I'm more clued up on the aviation sector, but because of the position that I'm holding right now, I'm no longer looking into only aviation, but all sectors within the union, because I'm looking for all the sectors that we are organizing SATAWU in the Gauteng province.
Okay.
So basically, that's who I am within the union, and a bit of experience that I've accumulated throughout the years.
Yeah.
And of course, yes.
That's quite a long time. So basically, you're saying SATAWU's got different sectors of unions within it, right?
I beg your pardon. I think you got cut off somewhere. I missed of your. I missed what you've just asked now.
Okay. I was saying you said that SATAWU has different unions from different industries and sectors that are part of it.
Yeah, SATAWU has sectors, different sectors.
Yeah.
And as I've mentioned, there's aviation, there's road freight, there's rail.
Yeah.
There's rail.
Just hold on. What I was asking is, so basically, it's a federation. Would you say that it's a federation of unions?
Not really a federation, because we also affiliate to a federation called COSATU.
Oh, to COSATU. So you're under COSATU. Yeah.
Unions. Yeah, some have SAMU, NUM, there's different kind of unions which are affiliated to COSATU. So the COSATU is a federation, but as unions, you will know there is a slogan within COSATU that say one union, one sector. But when they say one sector, they don't really mean that you need to focus only on aviation, seeing that I'm coming from aviation.
Okay.
We were allocated the transport sector.
Okay.
And so basically that's what we are dealing with as SATAWU. It's a transport sector. You'll also know that there's the mining industry, which NUM is part of. There's also the food. There's also the municipalities, where SAMU. There's also the health industry as well, where you would get your NEHAWU and so all these sister unions are part of the federation, which is under COSATU.
Okay. Yeah. So because what I'm understanding then, when you talk about a sector, you're talking about an industry. And the way I understand you, you're saying that SATAWU is a transport union that looks at transport in different industries, right? When are you focused on transport in the aviation industry? But it also looks at transport in different other, like trucking and so on and so forth. Am I correct when I...
Yes.
Okay. So basically, So essentially, SATAWU is one union but it represents different transport workers in different industries.
100%. That's
Okay,
correct. That's
okay.
correct.
I just wanted to make sure that I understand it, because part of this is just to understand even what a union is.
Yes.
The point of this is to educate myself and my viewers on how these things actually work. And we'll get to, maybe in another session later on, we're going to get to the employment relationship as it relates to the union. The democratic creation of wealth. Did you get that? Democratic
Yes.
creation of wealth. Okay. That's what COSATU says it wants. It wants the democratic creation of wealth. So my question is, what does that mean? Does that mean that it wants everybody to be able to participate and start a business, or what does that mean for the average person?
It is my understanding of, if you look at currently the economy of South Africa, the way it's structured and the way it's moving, you find out that we are more of a capitalist country, in where the richer become more richer and the less, paid, that are paid very less, and those that are actually up there. Now, with the equal distribution of this, you would understand that this democracy, the working class participated so much in making sure that we get our democracy in this country. And it was also mainly about the working class that has distributed more in this economy of this country. Now, somehow, the very same people that have participated so well are actually the ones that are poor of the poorest. They are not actually gaining anything in the way its format is. And you'll also understand that because COSATU is part of the tripartite alliance, our voices are no longer, heard as in it was, years back, when they needed the working class to actually help bring back the democracy in this country. But what surprises that the very same people that worked so hard are the ones that are not actually benefiting anything currently. And I just so hope exactly what you've asked. I'm still relevant to what, because I still could not pick up exactly what you're saying. And I think I heard you saying COSATU now is raising concerns in that regard, and they actually want to retrieve in their participation in this tripartite alliance. But let me also confirm that such pronouncement has not yet been made. In fact, it should have been made in the recent Congress that we've just attended, I think this month, if I'm not mistaken. But we did not actually even discuss that.
Okay. All right. So
we still believe.
Oh, so okay.
We still believe. We still believe, the wrongs can still be corrected because somehow the leading party or organization, which is the ANC, at times it had neglected the fact that they are leading in a tripartite alliance where COSATU's views should also be taken into consideration. Why I also raise this, you would find out that in most government institutions where COSATU is organizing, or where they've got unions affiliated to them organizing, the very same government somehow it's neglecting the workers. If you look at since the COVID-19, things have gone up, but people are still not earning the the inflation rate.
Inflation rate, yes.
You are a worker, you believe you are working to improve your life, not to maintain or sustain that life, that standard of living, but to also improve that. Now, if you give someone an increase that is less than inflation, you are not actually improving. You are actually saying, just be happy because you're still employed. But what is the reason for me being employed is to make sure that I improve the standard of living for myself and my family and those that are in my surroundings. So I think the reasons why COSATU it's actually raising those concerns is basically about that. In one of the articles I read about the Reserve Bank governor, who also was questioning questioning the rationale behind why employers are not giving people or employees the raise in relation to the inflation rate, or even more, because it's not only about giving employees the inflation rate. If you want to really improve, you can give them even more than what the inflation rate is, so that you are actually improving and taking care of your employees. So my take is that those are the concerns that we're going to talk to as workers from different workplaces, and we will actually mandate our unions to take this to the federation, because the federation is the one that represents us in the government structures.
Okay, so Lukas, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so basically, the way I understand it, from your understanding of the federation's aspirations, meaning, and your SATAWU's aspirations in turn, because they affiliate with the federation, would you say that the idea of restructuring the economy in the interest of the working class would basically mean that the working class start earning more money? Let's just say earn more money, preferably above inflation rate. And does it end at what the working class earns? That's what I'm asking.
Look, recently we had, during the restructuring of SAA, SATAWU participated so much in making sure that the company survives, despite all these other issues that we are still talking about. You know, the consortium that is taken over, the state-owned company being sold to the private entity, or the majority shares of the company. We participated so much in that during the SATAWU, to saying we believe that workers should also be given a share in the business, in the sense that because the idea of SAA moving forward was to have the triple P system, which is the public or private-public partnership. In that, we're saying when we want to make sure that workers are also involved in the economy, or in what SAA does, also give them a share, a certain percentage of shares that workers will own. And how do we access those? Obviously, we're going to sit down and talk to how perhaps using our own pension funds to buy those shares. But that, in its own understanding, was that workers were going to have shares. That on its own, we were trying to make sure that workers also benefit in the economy, not relying on you supplying only your hands, waiting for a salary at the end of the month. But the minute that the company does well, you also know that you are benefiting because you also are owning shares. So it's not about you earning the inflation rate or earning a certain salary. It's about you as an employee also participating in reaping, all these good things that your company has worked for. And had it started with SAA, we believe this was going to be spread across other companies. I mean, you start somewhere for you to get something. So had we gotten that one right, where we get, workers owning shares in their own company, in fact, when you wake up in the morning, you're not going to just work for a company that is going to make a profit and you'll be given something once, that profit is left. You are also working for yourself, because the company, the survival of that company means you also are getting something in your pocket, because you are also a part owner of the very same company. Okay. And that's what we actually mean by workers participating in the equal distribution of the economy to the workers, because you are also getting something. I also have participated in the SITA. SITA is the transport and education. It's a SITA that helps the transport workers.
Yeah.
In that, we were also talking to the issues of, these small, medium businesses that as well, it is also to make sure that the economy is distributed across all citizens of South Africa. And take it to the workplace where the workers are also earning those, starting small, earning, buying small shares within the employer. Once this company is there, you are getting something, not only a salary. So the same principle that was used that side is what we wanted to implement in the workplace, starting with SAA. And we know we're going to be a guinea pig.
Yeah. Okay, so basically what you're talking about is wealth generation, not just earning a salary, but also generating wealth through investing in these shares where the workers earn a share of the company and they become shareholders, basically. Right? So that is wealth generation. They also benefit not just from the salaries, but also from the profits.
We believe in a miracle where we think, money will just come from somewhere and be given to people. And we want to work for this money.
Yes.
We want to work for this money and make sure that indeed, as we are working, as I've stated earlier on when we started, I said the working class contributed a lot to the democracy of this country. Now, it is for that reason why COSATU had to be roped in and became an alliance, because they recognized what workers have done.
Okay.
Working class, it's actually the majority percentage of the contributors to the economy of this country. Apart from these, small businesses there and there, but workers, we wake up in the morning. Look at the mining industry, where workers wake up in the morning, how much they are making to the economy of this country. So basically, that's what we're saying. Can we also be afforded the chance to enjoy this?
Lukas, maybe you can come in here, but earlier on, Tinyiko mentioned that, there are some challenges for SATAWU, or maybe not necessarily for SATAWU specifically, but being part of the tripartheid alliance, it's not easy to, it's sort of like a challenge to get your voice heard and sort of get your interests, represented in that alliance. What are some of the challenges that you've come across, without sort of being specific to any private information? Just generally talking about the alliance as an organization or as a collective. What are some of the challenges that you found in sort of just getting your union's interests across?
All right. No, thanks, Mr. Kunyeli. Look, from my side, I think the first question that I would want to be answered on from your side, am I answering as Lukas or as a political head of my region that I represent within SATAWU? Because obviously, there are views within SATAWU as an organization, and I will have my own personal views as well. So probably if I may be clarified as to from which side of things should I be, answering your questions. I think,
So basically, and actually we didn't clarify this. I apologize to Tinyiko. We didn't clarify this with you. I'm actually looking for your personal experience. So I'm interviewing you as individuals, not necessarily as representatives of your unions. All right. The reason why I actually wanted to interview someone is a focus on the experience itself, to say, look, you've worked in this space on the ground and you know how it is. So I'm not necessarily looking for any big names or anything like that. Right. The point of this is to get the union perspective, practical perspective, because I've read your documents, I've read COSATU, I can read these things and say this is what they think and this what, but someone from a practical experience to say, look, actually this is how it works on the ground. We understand what's written there, but you're dealing with other people here and this is how it works. So I'm interviewing you as an individual.
Okay, no, thanks for clarifying that. A few concerns that I personally see as the issues that are making, the federation to struggle to represent the initial mandates or the initial creation of the federation. One, I think the people that we put in positions within the federation, they are more, of a political aspirations than rather representing, worker issues. And it becomes as a result of those individuals being, taken into minister positions, MECs, and. So immediately they get into the leadership within the federation. They focus their energy more on political issues rather than worker issues, and I think that has happened for a number of years, and I think to a certain degree, I would say federation has actually lost its own identity because of that. It's starting to look more of a political party than a worker federation, a worker organization, and solely because of that. And I don't know how will it be changed. And earlier I had Tinyiko talking about South Africa at its current form today. It's more of a capitalist country than a socialist country. And because of that, every one of us is working towards, their own pocket. And those individuals, that's what they are pushing for. You look at, for instance, when your Labor Relations Act are being amended, you never see, a federation on the forefront in terms of those amendments that will obviously protect the workers. They are nowhere to be found. Amendments are done and ratified by the companies alone. Hence, you see that today your Labor Relations Act is more favorable to employers than employees. It is because there's lack of participation from unions together with the federation. So for me, I think the relevance of the federation is no longer in existence, and it needs to be re-looked at. Because majority of the workers, in my own opinion, I think they are just accompanying individuals for their own personal, development and personal prosperity, without necessarily all of us, reaping the benefits at the end of the day. And if we continue in that direction, unfortunately, the workers will suffer even more.
Yeah, you mentioned that as people get sort of more, because we're living in a capitalist society now, people are more selfish and they're looking at their own pocket, right? So my question is, basically you say as they then develop and they join the union, they're more interested in their own political aspirations rather than the reason they're supposed to be there, which is to represent workers and their issues. So how do you differentiate between political issues and worker issues? What would you say is the difference there?
I don't know. You want to go in, Lukas? Although I've missed that part. I don't know. Maybe
did you catch it, Lukas? Yeah. Did you catch it, Lukas?
No, I struggle to hear as well on my side.
Okay, let me just repeat. Yeah, let me just repeat. What would you say is the difference between political issues and worker issues?
So that is the difference between the political issues and the worker issues.
Yeah, what is the difference? Yes.
Look, at most, workers or leadership of the unions in different structures, they will tell you you cannot separate with the unionism. Now, I take it when you say worker issues, you are referring to worker issues that are led by the union leaders, which of course some of them of course participating in COSATU, which now once you get to COSATU it becomes a bit of political issues. It had been a problem where workers would raise, concerns to saying we are no longer, as my colleague was saying, we are no longer relevant because most of the issues are now becoming politic instead of dealing with issues of the workers. Now, what do I mean about issues of the workers? I'm solely saying workers need the decent conditions of employment. I'm talking about workers, obviously, that is salaries being part of the basic conditions of employment. I'm talking about, how the LR, that on its own, because we are affiliated and in alliance to the government or the ruling party right now, the tripartheid, it is going to be a bit difficult to actually challenge those because we're in alliance. We are in alliance. In the meantime, we represent workers who bring their concerns to us as their leaders and supposed to take them forth, in political meetings. The purpose of forming this was to make sure that workers' issues are actually dealt with in government spaces through the federation. But are we still relevant doing that? Hence, now it becomes difficult to saying we're supposed to be getting things easily because, especially those that are within the Federation of COSATU, because their issues are dealt with in Parliament, are dealt with, in Little House, where the tripartite will meet and discuss issues. Are they still being discussed today? Because as we have indicated, most of them are looking into getting into positions in one way or another. Are they going to be able to raise those issues when they get there? It is the problem. And if that is not dealt with, to saying, that is where I think your question comes in. Can we separate these two? Indeed, we can separate that. If we know our principles, why are we leaders in the federation? We are leading workers, and we have to make sure that the issues are dealt with in Parliament, are dealt with in the political meetings. Question is, are they still being dealt? Good things that might still come, because you probably might not want to step on other people's toes, because you know what is awaiting you on the other end. So that is the only difference. But as I've started, I said we've been actually educated that you can't separate the unions with politics, because that's where your political issues, the workers' issues, are dealt with in political meetings. And that was a very good strategy, and if that was dealt with the right way, we would not be having these legal work stoppages, protected industrial actions everywhere, anytime. Because the issues of the workers would have been dealt with. We will know. Today we're talking about this minimum wage for the securities, for the cleaners. Has that been dealt with the right way? Because as I've indicated, SATAWU also organizes in those two sectors, the security and the cleaners. So we are the ones that are crying out badly, because we believe our members' issues are not dealt with. Yet they've been given to the Federation. The Federation is aware that this needs to be enforced. This needs to be there. So we're just hoping that, things will change. We are actually principled in what we are doing, where we know that we are representing workers and their issues will have to be tabled in the right platforms, but with no intention that we cannot fight to the latter, because we believe we probably might deprive ourselves of good job opportunities in the future as leaders. As we've indicated, most of them go there with an intention that they will become MECs or ministers, and that should actually be the last option. One cannot be given credit by just selling out workers. Credit will be given ways too. And we believe if the leaders, do what they're supposed to do and do it in flying colors, definitely sure they will be recognized everywhere, even in Parliament, because they know the good things that they've done, where they're coming from.
So as I understand you, basically the difference between political and legal issues is an artificial one brought about by a form of corruption, right? Because, like you said, ideally, a union is a political organization. It's not a political party. But as you can see, things are not being dealt as they're supposed to, because you have what Lukas was talking about that you also alluded to. This sort of selfishness that some people carry into as they move up the ladder, which artificially separates the mission of their mission from the mission of the union. It separates political issues from worker issues, when actually they're supposed to be one and the same. But because it's been now divided by their self-interest to try and get positions. Just quickly, what would you say, what is a union? Just basically, if you were to characterize, what is a union? I'll give this one to Lukas, if you don't mind.
I don't know if you want to come in, Mendo, but let me just give it a shot.
Okay. Lukas, will you also add to that? Yeah.
You will definitely come in. I know this one. Of course, union, in an English word, it says people need to be united. And united, you become strong. So as a union, let's look at how was it formed. It was formed some years ago. I mean, the first union was formed, it could be 100 years old. And that was due to the treatment that workers received then during the apartheid era and all that. And they believed, separated, they could not achieve a thing. However, once they became united and became one, they were going to send a strong message as and when they are not happy with anything. So unions were actually formed for that purpose, to saying, for us to have our voices heard, we need to be united and send a strong one voice, with the view that should no one listens to what they are actually saying, they will actually withdraw their hands. It is as simple as that. A union, which obviously represents labor, and they become an organized labor in the workplaces, they actually say, we are giving you, the employer, our hands in return of what you should be giving us in the form of a salary. And as I'm saying that, I remember one speaker who was saying, but it was more of an education, to saying, this education, you were sent there to memorize things. When you come back, you go and have to implement what you have memorized, and the employers will give you a bribe called a salary. I don't see it that way. But be that as may, unions would say, we organize in workplaces to unite workers, in that their voices will be heard, of course, through the leadership in the union. But the core is that you will be addressing workers who have taken a position, united as they are, in that if they decide on one thing, they're going to do that one thing, all of them. That is where unions were born, and that's why they were born to actually achieve. They are there to achieve issues in the best interest of the workers. And when I say best interest of the workers, I'm not saying workers should just come in and demand extraordinary things that we know. I mean, we see it in wage negotiations of different companies. We obviously look at the finances, but you'll find other employers who have made a huge profit, but without wanting to share it with the same people that have made that profit. That on its own, workers are able to say, we have seen your finances. We know we have done well. Why is it that we're not given what we believe should be given to us?
Yeah.
That's where unionism come in, because unionism will come and say, united as we are, we want to withdraw our hands in forcing you to actually give what we want. In showing you that without us, the very same profit you have accumulated will not be there. So unions are there to guard, and we should not only be perceived as only demanding. We are also contributing. I've just alluded that when we were dealing with the SAA restructuring during the business rescue, we participated in the form of something called the LCF, that is the Leadership Compact Forum. We were not only saying workers should not be retrenched. As a union, it was hard for us to see our members being let go. But we knew this was in a build-up stage where we believe the very same workers who have been laid off will come back once this business is up and going. And that is exactly the duties of the union. It's not only about demanding monies and salaries for the workers. We are also contributing in the success or successes of these businesses, because we also have our own inputs in how we view things. Because not only people who are in the lead that should be given those opportunities to build the company. I mean, we all know workers in leadership or managers in the businesses are there, and some of them are only there for a few years and they're gonna go. Who remains behind is the same employees. That is why when we build these companies, we make sure that we build these companies for years to come, not only for a certain period of time. You will know most CEOs are only here for 5 years. If lucky, go for 2 terms, which is the 10 years. But the people who are going to suffer if these issues are not well dealt with is the employees who are there, who are going to be there for years. Hence, the union leaders or the union smooth running of the companies, and not only this company that we are coming from, but all companies across this country where there's union or where there's organized labor, they must participate in these companies.
Lukas, what's your take on what a union is? What can you add to that?
No, thank you, sir. Without obviously repeating what Tinyiko said, for me, I think at its basis, we're talking to a group of employees that comes together for a common, goal within a workplace or workplaces, and that's the core or the basis of what is a union. But unfortunately, through its formation of the structures within those groups, because obviously at the end of the day, someone needs to talk on behalf of the group. Not all of us can speak. Individuals started to take advantage of the same, group that came together for a common cause. And that's the unfortunate part. But in essence, to answer your question directly, the union is just a group of individuals coming together for a common purpose.
So basically, this connects to what we've been discussing up until this point, where you say the union is a group of employees. You're saying union is a united group of employees, basically. And what we are seeing now, sorry?
Mr. Kinyeli, we've missed, at least for myself, I've missed a huge chunk of your comments there.
Oh, okay. Let me try again. Okay, so you mentioned that a union is a united. Can you hear me? Is it too soft or is it cutting?
Yeah, I think the mic is too far away from. Right, not necessarily that there's a signal problem, but somehow the mic can't pick up what you say.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, very much better.
Sorry about that. Okay, so basically you mentioned that a union is a united grouping. Both of you basically a united grouping of employees, right? So now this goes back to what we've been talking about up until this point. That you see this division, between the concepts of political issues and worker issues. It resembles the division that you get within the union, where you have people now start not working according to the interests of the union, and they sort of separate themselves from that grouping, isn't it? And then they start to serve their own interests by serving other interests outside of the union to further themselves. So it is quite interesting that I'm seeing this, and this is coming up in your answers quite a bit. Union is a non-profit. It's an organization, right? It's for non-profit.
Yes.
right? It's not a company, right? But it offers its members. Firstly, it charges its members for membership, isn't it? Right?
Yep.
And
not necessarily charging.
Okay. Please correct me there.
For its own survival. And those donations are called subscriptions by the members, not necessarily being charged.
Oh, so it's their They're not They're called subscriptions, and they're not. The union is not charging the members.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then the members.
Can
you
can comment on that?
Yeah.
Look, I think Tinyiko he's just been trying to be technical in his response. And he shouldn't be defensive. It's a charge. Anything that one will pay, as a result of joining any institution, it's a charge. And we cannot run. If it was not a charge, then I would say Lukas can become a member of the union without any contributions. Then I wouldn't call it a charge.
I understand.
But because of me joining, I'm subjected to that amount of money that I need to pay. For me, I see it as a charge. Yes, the intention is not to benefit individuals, but to assist the organization to run its day-to-day operations. But it is a charge at the end of the day.
It is okay. It is a charge at the end of the day. So now, so the union. Okay, let's just for the sake of this conversation, say it charges the as you can see, DSTV charges people also a subscription, a monthly subscription. But so now the union then offers its members certain, would we say, services. For example, not specifically your union. I'm talking unions in general now. They can offer things like legal assistance pertaining to issues of the work. So issues of work. So if a union has any sort of legal issues pertaining to their job and losing their job and so on, they can assist them in that way. There's also things like funeral benefits if they include it. So not all unions include it, but some unions do. So that's why this goes back to what exactly is a union. A union charges, but okay, it doesn't charge for profit. It charges subscriptions similar to private companies, like for-profit companies. But it uses that money to sort of further its ends as an organization, which again is sort of similar to what private companies, sort of for-profit companies do. They charge to make money so that they can further their own interests as well. So for me, there's a confusion that I have that I would like to sort of get some education from you about with regards to that. The distinction between a union as an organization and for-profit organizations, in terms of what is it aside from being a group of employees coming together?
Once again, let me start.
Let me just clarify. Was my question clear? Am I making sense?
Yeah, it was clear.
Yeah,
it was clear. You want to know that because unions are meant to be the non-profit organizations, vis-a-vis the private companies that are there to make profit. What is the difference? Is that what you want to know?
Yes.
I will speak more of the unionism. Indeed, your understanding of how and why the unions are there, it is not to make any form of profit. That is why where there's irregularities within the unions, it's painful, because we believe that people took their hard-earned monies to support the unions to be surviving, because they, as being what you just stated, that we offer you the representation from workplace to as far as the courts, the labor courts. It also helps in of course creating employment, because this administration work that is expected from the unions. When I talk about administration work, I'm talking now from different structures, upper structures, your provincial structure and the national structure, where there's people who have to look into controlling of the membership, collecting of those subscriptions, and as it grows, that is some kind of employment that we are creating there, being the non-profit. But in terms of the legal representation, first, the duties of the union is to train their shop stewards, because the issue starts in the workplace, in the plant level. Of course, we don't take them. We don't take shop stewards to acquire degrees, and there's the basic training that is given to the shop stewards and know how to handle, cases within the workplace. And of course, when they fail, other people, from upper structure will come and take over and assist and. But yes, with regard to the private companies that are there to really, it's an individual thing. So there on its own, it has to be, people starting something with a view of making money. I've just read an article or so on the television, the Twitter inventor or something, that guy Musk what wants to make sure that all the subscribers. Oh, you can imagine how much that guy is gonna. So those are people who are there to make money and make profit, but you can't expect that from a union. Whatever money that is collected and it becomes a surplus, it's something that needs to be accounted for, because it's not going to be shared amongst the leadership to say we've made a surplus of so much and let's share it amongst ourselves. That money needs to be accounted for and be reserved for any other time is going to be needed, because we are talking about an organization that is growing. As we go around recruiting, we're obviously growing the organization. The same number of service that the staff will be required to service, probably there may be the shortage of staff. In that, we're employing and giving. And you know what I've also noticed? We give some kind of students that they've just qualified. Why I say this, most of the people who come in with degrees, most especially from the legal point of view, they don't stay there for long, but they've acquired a vast knowledge of how to deal with issues legally, most especially the labor matters, and they go and start their own, what do you call this? They go and start their own businesses. I wanted this word where the group of, attorneys group together and start their business. So they start their own
legal firms. Is it legal firms? Yeah.
Indeed. So, but when you look back as to where they started from the unionism. And really, once you start there, there's no way you're going to fail. But I don't want to run away from your question. There's a huge difference between the non-profit organization in the form of a union and the one that I've just given an example of, because they are there to make profit. But on this one, even if we have made more money than forecasted, that money should not be shared, because we're not supposed to actually take it, because it's a non-profit organization. It was donated, hence that word donated, which you then agree that it has to be a charge. Well, fine, but in my view, it's some kind of a donation, which you can't use a donation for any other thing but for the purposes that is meant for.
Okay. Lukas, what's your take on that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with what Tinyiko said. But over and above, so much as the unions are meant to be a non-profit organizations, of late we've seen, the union leaders, unfortunately, starting to look at investments within the union, and they are taking workers' contributions or charges to have that money invested, and solely not to benefit the members, unfortunately, but to benefit themselves, because members never get to see as to the returns coming out of those investments. So to a certain extent, yes, by creation, it's a non-profit organization. But through this greediness that keeps on creeping in within individuals, some other things are get introduced within the non-profit organizations, and that eventually makes them profit organizations. But the profit gets to be seen or realized by few individuals that are in control, unfortunately.
So basically, going back to what Tinyiko said, basically you mentioned donations. You used the word donations. And correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding of the term donations is you give without getting anything in return. Am I correct? So basically, in terms of what the donations that the union gets, obviously, correctly if I'm wrong here, a union can accept an actual donation from an outside party that is not a union or member. Am I correct? I don't know if I'm okay. So aside from those donations, what the union gets from the member, it also gives in return a service in terms of representation, right? So would you say that the term, in terms of the member, that the term donation is it might not fit well there?
No, fine. On that one, there's nothing stopping unions receiving donations because there are non-profit organizations from elsewhere, not from those that expect something in return, as you've correctly alluded. So, which I think we eventually agree that it's a charge because this is something that we expect from those workers. And as we have already picked up, that it's not only the service that we are giving the legal representative. There's also something, good that is introduced these days, your funeral assistance, your shopping vouchers. Those are the things that come, and obviously it's in return to the charges that they gave you. So the number of collection from the charges that has been made, it enables the union to now acquire these good services. I mean, these days we are working with your AMA 2000s. They not only need representation. Some of them will tell you, already I have my private attorney elsewhere. Here, I'm only here to make sure that I get to be united. That other wage that we spoke to, that other reason why unions is there, I'm only here to make sure that we achieve that. But in terms of other things, I'm well covered. Okay. I have my funeral cover with your Old Mutual, your Metropolitan. I don't need those. But again, for a union, these days we need to come up with other services to attract these young ones who do not understand or who do not know where unionism comes from and why is it there.
With regards to, again, just before we move on from this specific topic, I looked up the definition of a financial services provider, right? And basically it says that a financial services provider is a business or service provider or employee, right, of a business that provides a service. So it's either the business itself providing the service, or it's a business that represents the business that provides the service. I don't know if I'm being clear.
If you may repeat that, I don't know if Lukas has picked that one up. Okay. I'll come after him.
Okay, so basically, a financial services provider is a business, right, that provides a financial service, right, or it is a business that only markets the financial service on behalf of a financial services provider. So a representative of a financial services provider who then promotes the product of the financial services provider on behalf of that provider. Am I making sense? Lukas, are you with me?
I think you're making sense.
Okay. So basically, would you say that this is the function that unions are performing when providing, because unions are not are they providing these services themselves directly, or are they using third parties are they paying third parties using their member contributions to provide these services? Lukas, sorry, let me give this one to Lukas Tinyiko, please.
Okay. All right, I'll come in later.
All right, no, thanks. The union obviously uses third party to give that kind of service, because unions don't have that capability within their structures in any case. Like for instance, if for funeral cover, the union is not in the use the expertise of the guys that are dealing with in that industry. So the unions are not there to provide that kind of service. It's only to represent workers in the workplace, CCMA, your labor courts, and that's where it ends. The rest we bring these other service providers to assist.
So would you agree to a characterization of the union in that function as a financial services provider?
Personally, I wouldn't, because we are not giving the service. We are actually roping in the guys that are providing the service to assist those individuals on our behalf. So we are not the ones that are providing the service as the unions.
I see. Tinyiko, what's your take on that?
I agree with him 100%. I mean, let's all think, what is the core of the union? The core of the union is to deal with labor matters and nothing else but labor matters. Now, if the very same member has other issues over and above labor matters, of course, that is the intellectual means by the leadership these days to saying we've been representing workers, left, right, and center, for issues that could have been avoided, and what could be the cause. Others, we find out that these places, how do we then help them? It is by finding out, doing this, some kind of research with what exactly are the needs of the workers. We found out that some of the people, when they lose their loved ones, they do not have enough to bury them in dignity. How do we help them? We don't say over and above the subscription that you are paying. We are saying what you are paying will take a bit from the agreed subscription amount and get a third party or a service provider to come and give you the services. So the services are still within the subscription that you are paying. And as Lukas has alluded, we are not experts in funeral covers. We are not experts in financial services. Hence, we will bring in the service providers to come and partner with us. Because can you imagine a lot of good money? If a union has about 200,000 membership, sorry to say, and they all belong to one particular funeral assistance company, that on its own, say they take 5 rand from each member and give to you as a service provider, it doesn't necessarily mean that the whole 200,000 members are going to die at one time, the same time. You may have maybe 20 or, in a month, but you have actually made a lot of money, you as a service provider. In the meantime, as unions, we have helped our members because of this analysis that we have collected, looking at what is it that they need more over and above the. It is true that the unions are not giving those services. It's only the third parties that can. And if there's any union that does that, definitely sure, because my take is they will be making profit out of that when they're supposed to be a non-profit organization.